I was in the CCU, which is a more critical area than the ICU, because I had a rare kind of pneumonia that was unresponsive to treatment. My physicians had warned my family that the prognosis was not looking good, and as a result, they had begun to visit me in the hospital. I was laying in bed with the BiPAP machine covering my face right before I had my experience, and I remember focused on each and every breath, both in and out. I was terrified of going to sleep because I had no idea if I would be able to continue breathing if I did. The next thing I knew, I was flying through space after breaking through the roof of my chamber and ascending into the heavens. It was the pitch-black nothingness that I have, at this point, read about in a great number of other reports. The notion crossed my mind that I ought to be scared, but oddly enough, I wasn't. This brought to mind a statement from the Bible that says, "Yes, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear nothing bad, because you are with me." My body seemed to be moving upward, and at the same time, I had the sensation of being seated in the posture that one would be in if they were riding in a vehicle seat, yet I was not in a car seat. After that, I noticed all of the planets off to the right of where I was, along with dazzling stars that resembled diamonds. The next section is something that I've only just lately started attempting to understand. I think that everything that I am able to recall was given to me for a reason. And with that being stated, the time has come for me to comprehend this component. It was brought to my attention that there was a mass that could not be seen around the planets, stars, and other objects. I was aware that this subject carried significance, but I couldn't put my finger on why I got that perception. After the near-death experience, I was unable to recollect the identity of the woman who received me when I arrived at the receiving station almost immediately after it ended. She started out by guiding me through this level that we were currently on. There was a massive archway to our left, behind us, and I could see spheres of yellow light racing in and out of it. I could hear some of these spheres chatting as they went by me, and when I asked her about it, she said that the voices belonged to what she called souls. You need to know that as soon as I got home, I started feeling incredibly down because I missed being there so much and I wanted to go back. I would say prayers and beg God if there was any way that I could relive that moment when I was asleep. After some time had passed, I found that I was beginning to forget parts and pieces of what I had seen. I think the reason for this is that I wasn't coming to terms with the reality that I wouldn't be there again before it was made a permanent fixture in the community. Everything seemed as though everything was still buried deep inside my unconscious, but for some reason I was unable to bring it to the surface. It's almost like trying to recall the lyrics to a song. All you need is the first verse, and everything will start to come back to you. That is one of the reasons why I read and watch so many tales of near-death experiences, in the hope that something would click and enable me to pull back the curtain in my memory that is concealing it. Because there are so many other things that I am able to recollect. Rather than attempting to put what transpired together in chronological order, I will mention them next. As I was moving across space, I was able to observe other types of life that existed in other locations, beings from which one might infer, simply by looking at them, whether they were good or evil made for the most fascinating subjects. It was almost as if I had an additional sense, but the information it provided was only relevant to these species. I found another location where people constructed their dwellings among trees. I was aware that there were several tiers of heaven, and that I was located at the level where souls entered and left. I looked up and saw a porthole above me, and I appeared to be able to make out the eyes of my father. I was aware that he was superior to me on some other level, and we were unable to get back together at this juncture. The experience of love was beyond words to describe. It had a profound effect on me. It's as though the amount of love that can be contained within these mortal bodies can only retain a fraction of what we feel when we're in touch with our true selves. The sensation that everyone is united and at one with God as well as with one another. I went across a rainbow that had been turned into a bridge. After some time had passed, someone told me about a rainbow bridge that is claimed to be crossed by animals. This is significant because the experience I had led to a profound change in my relationship with animals. In many respects, I am closer to the majority of mankind than I am myself. Even insects are beyond my control at this point. I came upon a stunning structure that was crafted out of mother of pearl. They led me inside a building where miracles were being kept, and I was shown around. There was a wide variety of products to be found here. The sections of the body that would be sent down for various treatments and repairs. There was a door made of amber that had complex designs etched into it, but that's about all I can recall about it. I recall coming up all of a sudden with a surge of energy and being unable to put what had just occurred into a practical context. I don't know how long I was out of it. My brain was having a hard time comprehending what it had just experienced. It seemed as if it was trying to convince me that it was a dream, but I was aware that it couldn't possibly be real. Immediately after waking up, I was able to get fleeting glances of what looked to be the faces of demonic beings to the right of my bedside. However, as soon as I blinked, the images disappeared. I also saw a real door on the ceiling above my bed, But as soon as I closed my eyes, it vanished along with everything else. After I opened my eyes, all of this transpired within the first couple of minutes after I opened them.